Greetings, YouTube. I recently saw something on Fortune.com. Yes, Fortune.com, the bastion of capitalism, that said that 6% of Americans, that's 19 million people, identify with the alt-right, also referred to as the neo-Nazis, or I just like to short it into what they are, Nazis, um, in America. Think about that for a second. 19 million people. And then how many sympathetic people are there on top of that? These are the ones that are actually, out and out willing to admit in a poll that they support the Nazis. I did read something once where someone said that he felt that the neo-Nazis, our current lot of Nazis, are worse than the original Nazis because while the original Nazis killed 11 million people, innocent lives, there had never been something like the Nazis before. Whereas, from the context of 2018, we know what Nazis did and how they did it. And yet there are still people that will ally themselves with that ideology. And the person said they felt that makes them worse because you're going into this with full knowledge. The Nazis in the 1930s and 40s, they could at least beg ignorance to a certain extent. Not enough. Not enough at all. But at least they had a modicum of plausible deniability going in. It was just garden variety racism when they joined. The racism of the day. But today, we know what happened. And yet there are people that still ally themselves with it. Deliberately. Actively. And to all the people out there that put those little red caps on and put the bumper stickers supporting the president and vice president during both the election and they're still on their vehicles. I know, I see them all the time. Fuck you, each and every one. You have allied yourselves with ugliness, with racism, with bigotry, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, misogyny. You do this deliberately and actively. You have utterly abandoned America's ideals. You shit upon the first 3 words. We, the people. And yet, 19 million, it's enough to sway an election, though, isn't it? It's enough to help put a fascist in the White House. A really, really stupid fascist, but a fascist nonetheless. 19 million. What would your grandfathers say about that? Maybe even your fathers in some case. The men that fought in Europe against the Nazis? What would they say about it? That their children had embraced the ideology of the men they gave their blood and their lives to break and to end their regime. And what about the mothers and sisters and wives and girlfriends that lost loved ones to the sub-Nazis that you now so actively embrace? And of course, there's the brothers and the boyfriends. But you don't seem to care about them now, do you? You'd rather ally yourself with racism and bigotry and hate and keep those ideals alive in America, emboldening them, encouraging them. 19 million people. 19 million Americans that haven't ever actually read the Constitution of the Bill of Rights.